Have you ever dreamed of a city made entirely of candy? A city with chocolate roads, lollipop trees, and houses made of cake? Well, Momo and Diddi had never seen such a place either, and they had no idea that one small piece of candy was about to take them on the biggest adventure of their lives. One morning, Momo and Diddi were walking through the forest. The birds were singing, the wind was gentle. Everything seemed normal, but then Diddi stopped. "Momo, look!" "What is it?" asked Momo. Diddi pointed to something shining under a tree. The friends walked closer. There, on the ground, was a beautiful pink candy. It sparkled like a little star. "Who dropped this?" asked Momo. Diddi looked around. Nobody was there. The forest was empty. Momo carefully picked up the candy. The moment he touched it, something very strange happened. The candy began to glow, brighter and brighter and brighter. "Momo," whispered Diddi. "I know," said Momo. The candy suddenly jumped from Momo's hand. It floated in the air, then it started flying through the forest. "Hey!" shouted Momo. "My candy!" shouted Diddi. "It wasn't your candy!" The glowing candy flew faster. The two friends ran after it. They ran between trees. They jumped over rocks. They crossed a small stream. But the candy never stopped. Finally, it reached a hill. The candy floated to the top and hovered there. Momo and Diddi climbed the hill as fast as they could. When they reached the top, they froze. They could not believe their eyes. Below them stood a giant city. A city unlike anything they had ever seen. The roads looked like chocolate. The houses looked like cakes. The trees were covered with colorful candy. Huge lollipops stood beside the streets. Even the clouds above the city looked pink and sweet. "Wow," whispered Diddi. "Is that real?" asked Momo. Above the city gate were two giant golden words, "Candy City." The friends stared in amazement. But then they heard something unexpected. Someone was crying. Then another voice, and another. Soon, worried voices echoed all across the city. "Help! Our candy is disappearing! Somebody stole my candy! Mine too!" Momo and Diddi looked at each other. Candy City looked beautiful, but something was very wrong. And hidden somewhere inside the city was a mystery waiting to be solved. The adventure was about to begin. Momo and Diddi hurried down the hill toward Candy City. The giant candy gate stood wide open. As they entered the city, they looked around in amazement. Everything was sweet and colorful. The roads were made of chocolate. The houses looked like cakes. The street lamps looked like candy canes. The trees were full of bright candies. But something felt strange. Nobody was smiling. The candy people walked slowly. They looked worried. Some were even crying. A little candy girl sat beside a candy fountain. She was holding an empty candy bag. Tears rolled down her face. "What's wrong?" Diddi asked gently. The candy girl sniffled. "My candy is gone." "Gone?" asked Momo. The girl nodded. "It disappeared last night." Just then, an old candy man walked over. "My candy disappeared too," he said. Then a candy baker came running. "And mine!" Soon more candy people gathered around. "My candy is gone!" "Mine too! Mine too!" Momo and Diddi looked at each other. This was happening to everyone. Suddenly, a loud voice called out, "Make way! Make way!" The crowd moved aside. A tall candy man, wearing a shiny golden hat, hurried toward them. "Are you Momo and Diddi?" he asked. "Yes," said Momo. The candy man smiled. "Oh, thank goodness. Who are you?" asked Diddi. "I am Mayor Sugar," he replied. "The mayor of Candy City." The crowd became quiet. Mayor Sugar looked very worried. "We need your help," he said. "We heard that," said Momo. "What exactly is happening?" Mayor Sugar lowered his voice. "Every night candy disappears." "How much candy?" asked Diddi. The mayor sighed, a little at first, then more, and more, and more. Last night, almost half the city lost candy. The crowd gasped. "If this continues," said the mayor, "there will be no candy left in Candy City." The candy people looked frightened. Momo scratched his head. Has anyone seen who is taking it? Mayor Sugar slowly shook his head. No, nobody has ever seen the thief. Diddy blinked. Nobody? Not exactly, said the mayor. What do you mean? Asked Momo. The mayor looked around carefully. Then he whispered, Some people say they have seen a shadow. A shadow? Asked Diddy. The mayor nodded. A dark shadow, with glowing green eyes. The crowd became silent. Even the wind seemed to stop. Where was it seen? Asked Momo. Mayor Sugar pointed toward the far end of the city. There, on top of a hill, stood a giant castle made of chocolate. It was much bigger than every other building. The shadow always appears near the candy castle, said the mayor. Momo stared at the castle. It looked beautiful, but it also looked mysterious. Suddenly, flash! A tiny green light appeared in one of the castle windows. Then it vanished. Diddy gasped. Momo, did you see that? Momo nodded. I did. The mayor's face turned pale. That's exactly what people have been seeing. For a moment, nobody spoke. Then Momo smiled. Well, there's only one thing to do. What? Asked Diddy. We investigate. Diddy smiled too. Mayor Sugar looked hopeful. The candy people began whispering excitedly. Maybe Momo and Diddy could solve the mystery. Maybe they could save Candy City. But high above them, in the tallest tower of the candy castle, two glowing green eyes were watching. Watching Momo. Watching Diddy. Watching everyone. And a quiet voice whispered, They are getting closer. Then the eyes disappeared into the darkness. The next morning, Momo and Diddy woke up early. The sun was shining over Candy City, but the candy people were still worried. Everywhere they looked, they saw sad faces. Mayor Sugar came to meet them. Did you find any clues? He asked. Not yet, said Momo. But we are going to find out who is taking the candy. Diddy nodded. Today we will visit the candy castle. The mayor looked nervous. Please be careful. Momo and Diddy started walking toward the castle. The castle stood on a hill above the city. Its walls were made of chocolate. Its towers were made of colorful candy. From far away, it looked beautiful. But up close, it felt mysterious. The giant castle door slowly opened. Creak! The friends stepped inside. The castle was quiet, very quiet. Their footsteps echoed through the halls. Tap, tap, tap. Momo, whispered Diddy. Do you hear that? Hear what? Asked Momo. A strange sound came from somewhere above them. Scratch, scratch, scratch. The friends followed the sound. They climbed one staircase, then another, then another. Finally, they reached the tallest tower. The door was closed. Behind it came the strange scratching sound. Momo took a deep breath. Then he slowly opened the door. The room was dark, very dark. For a moment, they saw nothing. Then, two green eyes opened. Diddy jumped. Momo! The green eyes moved closer, and closer, and closer. Then a small voice said, Please don't be afraid. The friends blinked. A tiny creature stepped into the light. It was small and round. Its fur was purple. Its eyes were green. Its ears were long. It looked more cute than scary. You are the shadow? Asked Momo. The creature nodded sadly. My name is Gummy. You are taking the candy? Asked Diddy. Gummy looked down. Yes. Momo frowned. Why? Because I was hungry. Hungry? Asked Diddy. Gummy nodded. I live alone in the mountains. I came here many days ago. I wanted food, but I was afraid, so I only came at night. The creature looked very sad. I never wanted to make anyone cry. Momo and Diddy looked at each other. The mystery was solved, but now they had another problem. How could they help Gummy? Diddy sat beside him. Why didn't you ask for help? Gummy sighed. I thought everyone would be afraid of me. Momo smiled. Some people may be afraid at first, but good friends talk. They do not hide. Gummy slowly smiled. No one had ever called him a friend before. Just then, Mayor Sugar and several candy people arrived at the tower. They stopped when they saw Gummy. The room became silent. Gummy looked frightened. "I'm sorry," he said quietly. "I took your candy." The candy people whispered to one another. Then a little candy girl stepped forward. It was the same girl who had cried before. She looked at Gummy. Then she held out a small candy cookie. "You can have this." Gummy stared. "For me?" The little girl nodded. "For you." Soon another candy person stepped forward. Then another and another. One offered candy, one offered cake, one offered chocolate. Before long, Gummy's arms were full of treats. His eyes filled with tears. "You are not angry?" he asked. Mayor Sugar smiled. "We are not happy that you took our candy." Gummy looked down. "But," said the mayor, "everyone makes mistakes. What matters is what you do next." Gummy nodded quickly. "I will never take candy again. I promise." The candy people cheered. The mystery was finally over. That afternoon, the whole city held a huge celebration. Music filled the streets. Children laughed. Everyone danced. The bakers made giant cakes. The candy makers made colorful sweets. The fountains sprayed pink juice. It was the happiest day Candy City had seen in a long time. Momo and Diddi were given special medals. One medal said, "Best Friends of Candy City." The crowd cheered loudly. "Hooray for Momo! Hooray for Diddi! Hooray for Gummy!" Gummy laughed. For the first time in many years, he did not feel alone. As the sun began to set, the sky turned orange and pink. Momo looked around the city. Everyone was smiling. Everyone was happy. Candy City was safe again. Diddi smiled. "This was a wonderful adventure." "The best," said Momo. Then Mayor Sugar walked over. "Thank you for helping us." "You are welcome," said Momo. "Will you visit again?" asked the mayor. Momo grinned. "Of course." Diddi laughed. "There is always another adventure waiting for us." The friends waved goodbye. Then they started their journey home. As they walked away, the lights of Candy City sparkled behind them, and far above the city, the stars began to shine. The adventure was over, but many more adventures were waiting for Momo and Diddi. Okay, dear listeners, did you enjoy our adventure in Candy City? What was your favorite part? Was it the giant Candy City, the mysterious green eyes, or meeting Gummy? Tell us in the comments below. We love reading your ideas, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss our next adventure with Momo and Diddi. There are many more mysteries, magical places, and exciting stories waiting for you. See you in the next video. Bye-bye, friends.